Welcome back to First Turn in 10, everybody. A series where we look at games and the first 10 minutes or first turn, just to give you a sort of vibe check on what this game actually looks like. Today, we are playing a game called, you think I'd have this ready, The Lost Expedition. This is I suppose there's three different modes to this. There's a solo, there's a competitive, and there's a cooperative multiplayer mode. Today we're going to have a look at the cooperative multiplayer mode. So I'm actually going to be playing double-handed. So I'm going to have two hands to play from. This is not a rules video. This is just a sort of series to kind of give you an idea. If you're looking at a game and you'd like to see what will I actually be doing, just to sort of give you an idea as to what the game actually flows like. So I have the game set up here. The ultimate goal is to get your expedition to the Lost City over here. I almost couldn't fit this game on the table itself. These are sort of tarot-sized cards, so they're quite large. I have my expedition here. I have Bessie, Isabel, and Inez, and their health, their bullets, and their food. It is morning time. I am going to play the leader, for example, from this hand. And on your turn, what you're doing is you have a hand of 6 cards. And in those 6 cards, there are different challenges like a steep path, insects, healing herbs, nightshade, jaguar. And you're not allowed to speak to your friend, you're not allowed to speak to your cooperative partner, your buddy here, and you're trying to put cards out that allow you to essentially, gain resources, move through the jungle, and not die before you get there. You can survive. Basically, one person from your expedition has to survive in order for you to win the game. So, for example, I might take out healing herbs and think, okay, there's a card I want to play. My partner then would have a look on his deck. Sorry, I should have put these all the right way up. But my partner would look at his hand, or her hand, and then say, okay, dehydration, for example. We do this until there are 6 cards. So in a 2-player game, we do this until there are 6 cards on the board. So let's pick that one there. Then we'll pick another one. And again, when you're actually playing this for real, you're trying to balance out, what's going to happen. Now, there's numbers on these, and I'll show you exactly why they're there. So let's go steep path, for example. I'll then go this one here. So that's 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. So now we have 6 cards out there. We now rearrange these cards in numerical order. So the whole time we were looking at that, we also had to be thinking, okay, what's going to come first? What's going to happen next? So we have 10. I think 19 was next. Then we have 36. Then we have 47. Then 54 and 56. So we have the path that we're moving through, and each of these symbols along the top, we move from left to right, mean you have to do something. So this one here, you can see that means you can skip or you can discard the next card in the path. So this would mean you can actually decide to avoid this steep path. When you're playing the game, you don't have to, but sometimes I like telling a story. I've played this with my 4-year-old before, and we're always like telling stories, and he's telling me what's actually happening here. And oh, we got these healing herbs. So we can actually skip the steep path. So it's really strategic if you saw somebody playing healing herbs and you had a really bad card in your hand that you definitely didn't want to get out, and you could see it's close to 10, you could put it down. So we're going to skip the next card. Then this symbol here is I have the reference card beside me here, so I can always have that if I want. This symbol here means I have to spend a jungle experience or expertise, which basically means the expertise off Inez here, she loses a health, unfortunately. There is other ways to get this symbol, to pay this symbol, but that will come across it. We then get 2 health, and we also get to, and again, apologies, I'm just looking at that. So I get to draw a card from the deck and add it to the end of the path. So this is kind of a good card and a bad card in a sense. So we've spent a health. We actually now get to heal. I don't believe you can heal past your maximum amount of health, so I won't do that for now. I'll put some comments down below if that's incorrect. And then we have to draw an extra card. Now, extra cards go directly at the end. And unfortunately, we drew some piranhas. That doesn't look so good. We get to skip steep path. So steep path gets removed. Throw it in a discard pile. We then have insects. So we have to spend an expertise on this symbol here, which is navigation. So we can see that down here, navigation. So we have to spend. So my navigator has to take a hit. So Isabel takes a hit. We then get to skip the next card if we want. I believe it is optional. You can skip. You must discard the next card. Apologies. You must discard. Apologies. Right. So we must discard the next card. We then get to gain this expertise. So these insects, we now actually get to gain this card. So this comes along with us for the journey. We add that to our party. And anytime we might have to spend this symbol, we actually get to use this card instead of taking a hit. We have to skip K-Puck. He was obviously trying to help us potentially or give us some guidance. Then we hit dehydration. So we have a choice here. Now, when you see two like this, you have to choose. So either do we take 2 health from Bessie over here, or do we draw 2 extra cards on the end? And unfortunately, Bessie, you're going to have to take the hit because I'm not drawing 2 extra cards. That is brutal. So dehydration, we have to suffer some dehydration, and then we move along the path. We must add a card at the top here. So we do this. Vampire bats show up. Not ideal. And then we have a choice. Do we take 2 more health damage, or does our navigator take a health damage? So I think, unfortunately, we're going to have to take our navigator. I'd rather not take 2 health damage. Now, if our navigator was dead, we'd then have to obviously take 2 from somebody else. So we're trudging through that swamp. In the swamp, there are piranhas. Now, how this works, we've come across a new symbol. So food means we need to spend food. So essentially, we're basically like giving the piranhas our food to placate them, if you will. So what we're doing is whether spend 2 food. Now this symbol means we actually advance through the jungle. So this is the symbol you're looking for to try and move through the jungle. So we could spend 2 food, or alternatively, we can advance through the jungle and then spend the health. And I'm actually going to spend the health because Inez is quite healthy right now. For now, anyway. And then we place that over there. And then the last card says we gain a food. We found some vampire bats. Now, in my mind, I'm like, okay, we're eating a vampire bat potentially. Potentially, I don't know. So we will take some food, which is wonderful. Thank you. And we then have to take a health off our what's that symbol called again? That is called, bear with me, the camping symbol, the camping expertise. We either take 2 health off somebody else, or we take a health off a camping. Now, Bessie is dead. No, sorry, she's not dead. Excuse me. She's almost dead. And that is the entire round. So that's the morning over. So morning is done. We now flip to evening. As you can see, this game is absolutely brutal. This game is brutal. So now we flip to evening. And in evening, we do the exact same thing. We both have 3 cards left. However, this time, the cards will not be reordered. So we're in the dark, so we're not quite sure where we're going. So now it's kind of random as to how things are going to occur. So I'm not going to spend too much time deliberating over which cards to play. So again, first player, second player, back to the first player, back to the second player, back to the first player, back to the second player. So again, you're not really allowed to speak as to what you're doing, but you're allowed to sort of say general terms like, okay, we think it would be a good idea if we try to get some food in now here, and I think this would be good. But you can't say, I have leeches, it's going to, cost me a food, cost me a health, and take away a card. So this is the beginning of the evening phase, and we do the exact same thing again. So we start at the top. This symbol here is to swap 2 cards that are later. So you might see cards that counteract each other. So for example, I can see that ants here let me skip the next 2 cards. Or sorry, not let me. I must skip the next 2 cards. So I might want to pick something like this over here, High Auto Ihi, for example, because it's got a lot of red on it. I don't like it. Now, it does let me progress through the jungle, so I might want it. But for example, I might say, okay, let's take that. That's too much damage, or I don't like how that's going to interact. So I'm going to swap 2 cards here and, for example, here. So this means now I've swapped the last 2 cards. I now have to either spend a health, or if you remember earlier on, I picked up the insects card. I now have this symbol. I can spend this symbol to prevent losing that health, which is exactly what I'm going to do. So I'll move that over there. So the Nightshade didn't do too much damage, and it actually helped me. I don't know what the lore behind Nightshade. Maybe I had some of the Nightshade and I started hallucinating or something. This card means I get to skip the next 2 cards. I do have to spend a health. Sorry, the blue is optional, by the way. Sorry, I should have said that. Blue is optional. So I can spend a health to get 2 food. I am pretty low on health, and I'm pretty flush in food right now, so I don't think I need to do that. So I won't do that. I'll jump around the ants, for example. I can then skip both of these cards. They look pretty brutal. I don't want to deal with a Jaguar. I could potentially use a bullet to then gain this card, and I do have 3 bullets, but bullets are quite limited. They're very rare to get them back. Leeches, unfortunately, I have to spend a health. I'll get Ines here. I then have to spend a food. So, okay, they've taken my food, for example. And I get to, believe that's with remove another card, is it? Discard the last card in the path, not including the current card. So I get to discard that. So I actually made it through the evening pretty okay without too much more damage. That is the round, so to speak, a morning and an evening. You would then pass the leader card off to the next player. You draw back up 6 cards, and you just repeat that process and do your darndest to get all the way through the jungle by avoiding and spending and managing your resources. That has been the Lost Expedition in 10 minutes. Let me know if you think the game is for you. I really enjoy this game. Cute little puzzler. As I said, playing it with my 4-year-old means we can just kind of make up stories. He doesn't really know. It's like, do you want to shoot the jaguar, or do you want to eat the bats? He loves all that stuff. And yeah, let's just say we've never completed it because, come on, he's 4. All right, thanks very much for watching. If you've made it this far, do the things, hit the like button, maybe subscribe for more, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye bye.